Life often feels like a series of tests. Just when you think you're getting ahead, another challenge appears, and the weight of it all can feel overwhelming. It's in these moments, when you feel stretched beyond your limits, that God is at work. The struggles we face are not random. They are divinely orchestrated to build our faith, refine our character, and prepare us for the blessings that lie ahead. For those who trust in God, trials are never wasted. They are part of His greater plan, shaping us for something far greater than we can imagine. Consider the story of Joseph in the Bible. He endured betrayal, slavery, and imprisonment, circumstances that seemed hopeless. Yet through it all, God was positioning him for a breakthrough that would not only change his life, but also save an entire nation. Like Joseph, the challenges you face today may be the very path God is using to lead you to your breakthrough. If you've been feeling stuck, discouraged, or unsure of your next step, don't lose hope. These feelings, while difficult, are often signs that you're on the verge of something new. God uses these moments to draw us closer to Him, to teach us to rely on His strength rather than our own. When the weight of your burdens feels unbearable, remember that God's promise remains true. He will never leave you nor forsake you. Genesis 1, verses 5. I have not left you. I have remained true to you. God uses these moments to remind you that God's promise remains true to you. God is ever present. Our only option is proper care. Everyone listening right now, He is preparing you for a new season of blessings. Breakthroughs often come disguised as struggles. The very things that feel like setbacks may actually be God's setup for your elevation. He may close doors that are not meant for you, allow trials to test your endurance, or place you in situations that challenge your faith. But take heart. These are not signs of abandonment. Instead, they are divine indicators that God is working behind the scenes to fulfill His promises in your life. Remember, God's timing is perfect. Even when it feels like He is silent, He is still at work. Like a potter molding clay, He is shaping you for His purpose. So, hold on, stay prayerful, and trust that the God who began a good work in you will carry it to completion. Philippians 1:6. These signs might just be God's way of telling you that your breakthrough is closer than you think. Be prepared to walk by faith, not by sight. One of the most powerful aspects of receiving a breakthrough is learning to walk by faith, not by sight. The journey to a breakthrough often requires us to step out of our comfort zones and trust God in ways that feel uncertain or even impossible. It's easy to walk by sight when everything is going well, when everything we can see is lining up with our expectations. But true faith requires us to trust God even when we can't see the way forward, or when things seem to be falling apart. 2 Corinthians 5 verse 7 reminds us, "For we live by faith, not by sight." This principle is fundamental in the Christian walk. God often asks us to trust Him in the unknown, to take steps of faith even when the road ahead seems unclear. When we focus only on what we can see, we limit ourselves to human understanding, which is always finite and flawed. But when we walk by faith, we open ourselves to God's infinite wisdom and His supernatural power to make a way where there seems to be no way. Abraham's life provides one of the most well-known examples of walking by faith. When God called Abraham to leave his home and go to a land that God would show him, Abraham had no idea where he was going or how things would unfold. But he obeyed God's call, walking in faith, trusting that God would lead him to the right place. Hebrews 11 verse 8-9 says, "By faith Abraham, when called to go to a place he would later receive as his inheritance, obeyed and went, even though he did not know where he was going." Abraham didn't have a map or a clear plan. He had faith in the promise of God. This is the kind of faith that God calls us to embrace when we're walking toward our own breakthrough. Walking by faith also means being willing to take risks, knowing that God is with us every step of the way. There may be moments when we feel afraid or uncertain, but faith is about trusting that God's presence and guidance are greater than our fears. When the disciples were in a storm on the Sea of Galilee, Jesus called Peter to walk to him on the water. Peter stepped out of the boat and began to walk toward Jesus. But when he took his eyes off Jesus and focused on the waves, he began to sink. Jesus immediately reached out and caught him, saying, "You of little faith, why did you doubt?" Matthew chapter 14, verse 31. This story illustrates the importance of keeping our eyes fixed on Jesus, even in the most uncertain and challenging circumstances. As you await your breakthrough, you will be faced with moments where walking by faith is the only option. The path may not always be clear, and the challenges may seem insurmountable, but trusting in God's faithfulness is key. Walking by faith means moving forward, even when the outcome isn't guaranteed. It means acting in obedience to God's promptings, even when the world around you tells you to stop, doubt, or give up. It's taking one step at a time, knowing that God is leading you to a place of fulfillment and victory. Walking by faith also involves trusting that God's plan is greater than our own. We may have our own vision of how we want things to unfold, but God's perspective is always higher. Isaiah 55 verse 9 says, "As the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways and my thoughts than your thoughts." Trusting God means surrendering our own plans and fully embracing His will, knowing that He will lead us to the breakthrough He has prepared for us. Sometimes, God's plan looks different from our own, but we can be assured that His way is always better, even when we don't understand it. Faith is not just about believing in God's ability to bring the breakthrough. It's also about believing in His timing and His purpose. When things don't happen when we want them to, it can be difficult to maintain faith. But trusting God's timing means knowing that He is always working behind the scenes, orchestrating every detail for our good. As we walk by faith, we trust that God is preparing us for the breakthrough, and that the delay is part of His perfect plan. Hebrews 11 verse 1 defines faith as the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Walking by faith is about holding on to the hope and assurance that God's promises are true, even when we can't see the evidence with our natural eyes. It's believing that what God has spoken will come to pass, no matter how long it takes or how difficult the journey may seem. Walking by faith means trusting in the unseen, knowing that God is working in ways we can't fully understand or perceive. As you continue to wait for your breakthrough, remind yourself that you are walking by faith and not by sight. Trust that God is guiding your steps and that His plan for your life is unfolding, even when it feels like nothing is happening. Keep your focus on Him and step forward with the confidence that He will bring you into the breakthrough He has promised. The journey of walking by faith may not always be easy, but it will always lead to victory when we trust in God's faithfulness and His perfect timing. Unexplainable challenges intensify. One of the clearest signs of an impending breakthrough is when the challenges in your life seem to escalate to an overwhelming level. It may feel as though everything is falling apart all at once. Problems at work, strained relationships, financial setbacks, and physical or emotional exhaustion. But take heart. These intense difficulties are often a sign that something powerful is on the horizon. The darkest moments often come just before the dawn. In life, it's easy to grow discouraged when everything seems to be going wrong. You may question why things are becoming so much harder, especially after you've worked so hard or prayed so long for a change. Yet, these trials aren't just obstacles. They're stepping stones leading to your breakthrough. The greater the opposition, the more likely it is that a divine victory is close at hand. Just as the enemy intensifies his attacks, when he senses your breakthrough approaching, God is preparing you for something far greater than you could imagine. These challenges are not designed to defeat you, but to strengthen you. Each struggle is a test of your resilience, a challenge to your faith, and an opportunity to grow closer to God. It's in the moments of intense pressure that your true strength emerges, shaped by the trials you endure. You may not see it right now, but every moment of adversity is refining you, preparing you for the greater purpose God has for your life. Think of the great warriors in the Bible. David, who faced Goliath. Job, who lost everything but never lost his faith. Joseph, who was betrayed by his own brothers, but rose to greatness. Their stories are testimonies of how God uses challenges to shape people for His glory. Just as a diamond is formed under immense pressure, your breakthrough is being forged through your trials. When you look around and see everything crumbling, when the obstacles seem insurmountable, remind yourself that God never brings you to a challenge without equipping you to overcome it. Your ability to endure through hardship is a direct reflection of God's power at work in you. The more you persevere, the stronger you become. You may not see the light at the end of the tunnel yet, but trust that it's there, waiting for you. The Bible encourages us with this promise. Blessed is the one who perseveres under trial, because, having stood the test, that person will receive the crown of life that the Lord has promised to those who love Him. James 1 verse 12. This crown of life isn't just a metaphor. It's a promise of eternal reward, of victory over all the hardships you've faced. The crown is waiting for you, and it is earned through faith, endurance, and trust in God's plan, even when the road is tough. So, what do you do when the pressure intensifies? You keep going. You keep praying. You keep standing firm in your faith. God is using every challenge to prepare you for the amazing things He has in store. Your breakthrough is coming, and it will be greater than anything you've ever imagined. Don't be discouraged by the weight of your struggles. Embrace them. Every obstacle is an opportunity to grow stronger, to build faith, and to draw closer to the one who has promised to never leave you, nor forsake you. Trust that the greater the battle, the greater the blessing. Keep pressing on, because your breakthrough is closer than ever before. God is not finished with you yet. He's just getting started. Your faith will be tested. When you're in the midst of overwhelming challenges, it can feel as though your faith is being tested at every turn. Doubts creep in, and the temptation to give up becomes stronger with each passing day. But it's important to remember that testing your faith is not meant to break you. It's meant to strengthen you, refine you, and make you more like Christ. In the Bible, we are reminded that trials are an essential part of our spiritual journey. The testing of your faith produces perseverance. Let perseverance finish its work so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything. James 1 verse 3. 4. Faith that hasn't been tested isn't fully developed. It's through the fire of hardship that your faith becomes refined, just like gold in a furnace. Every time you face a challenge and choose to trust God, you are building a foundation that will support you through even greater obstacles. This process of growth can be uncomfortable, but it's essential for your development. When you remain steadfast and cling to God's promises, you are becoming stronger, more resilient, and more capable of handling what's to come. It's during these times of trial that God's presence is most evident. Even though it might feel like you're walking alone, God is right beside you, guiding you, strengthening you, and walking through the fire with you. Just as he was with Daniel in the lion's den, and with Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in the fiery furnace. God is with you in your trials. You are never truly alone. In the midst of these challenges, it's crucial to keep your eyes fixed on God, not on the storm. It's easy to get distracted by the chaos around you. But when you focus on God's promises and His faithfulness, your faith will remain unshaken, even when you can't see the end of the road. Trust that God has a plan and that your breakthrough is coming. Remember, faith isn't just about believing when things are easy. It's about trusting God when life gets hard. It's about having the courage to stand firm in your belief, even when everything around you seems to be falling apart. And it's through this perseverance that your faith grows, and you begin to see the powerful work of God in your life. So, when your faith is tested, remember that it's not a sign of defeat, but a sign of growth. Embrace the challenges with confidence, knowing that they are shaping you into the person God has called you to be. Keep trusting, keep praying, and keep believing. Your breakthrough is on the way, and it will be a direct result of your unwavering faith in God's timing and plan. Hold on to hope. In the midst of trials, it can feel like hope is slipping away, and it's easy to become consumed by the weight of your circumstances. When the road is long and the challenges seem insurmountable, it's natural to feel overwhelmed. But it's precisely in these moments of uncertainty that hope becomes a powerful anchor for your soul. Holding on to hope is not just a choice. It's a necessity for survival and breakthrough. The Bible speaks of a hope that does not disappoint, a hope rooted in the promises of God. We have this hope as an anchor for the soul, firm and secure. Hebrews 6 verse 19. This hope is not dependent on our circumstances or how we feel in the moment. It is rooted in the faithfulness of God, who promises to be with us through every storm. No matter how dark the night may seem, hope reminds us that the dawn is coming. Hope doesn't mean that everything will always be easy or that you won't experience pain. It means that you believe, deep in your heart, that God's plan is greater than your current situation. Hope is the belief that even though things may look bleak right now, God is working behind the scenes to bring about something greater. It's the assurance that your breakthrough is coming, and it's closer than you think. When hope seems distant, remind yourself of God's track record. He has been faithful in the past, and He will be faithful again. Reflect on the times He has brought you through difficult situations before, and use those moments as reminders that He will not abandon you now. His promises are true, and He will never leave you or forsake you. Hope also fuels perseverance. It gives you the strength to keep moving forward when you feel like quitting. The Bible tells us to hope to the end. 1 Peter 1 verse 13. Because it is this hope that keeps us anchored in God's goodness and faithfulness. Hope enables us to see beyond our current pain and focus on the victory that lies ahead. It helps us rise above the temporary struggles and look toward the eternal glory that God has prepared for those who trust Him. As you hold on to hope, let it become the foundation of your daily life. When the enemy whispers lies of defeat and discouragement, respond with the truth of God's word. Speak life over your circumstances, and remind yourself that with God, nothing is impossible. Your breakthrough is coming, and it will be worth every moment of waiting. So when everything feels uncertain, when your strength is fading, and when the trials seem never-ending, hold on to hope. Let it be the light that guides you through the darkness, because in the end, the hope you've held onto will lead you to your breakthrough, and you will see the glory of God revealed in your life in ways you never thought possible. The power of persistence. When the challenges feel endless and your strength is waning, it can be easy to lose sight of the goal. But it's important to remember that persistence is a key element in unlocking your breakthrough. Just like a seed that is planted in the ground, buried under the weight of the earth, your perseverance is quietly working beneath the surface, preparing for a mighty harvest. It may not always seem like things are changing, but every step you take in faith is drawing you closer to the victory that awaits. Persistence in the face of adversity is not just about continuing. Despite the hardship, it's about continuing with purpose, with faith, and with a heart full of expectation. It's trusting that every challenge you face is building resilience, shaping your character, and preparing you for the success that God has destined for you. The Bible speaks to the power of persistence in Galatians 6 verse 9, which says, "Let us not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up." The key here is timing. While the harvest may not come immediately, it is certain to come. Persistence is about trusting in God's timing, knowing that the harvest will come at just the right moment. Sometimes, when we don't see immediate results, it's tempting to think that we've been forgotten or that our efforts have been in vain. But God's work in us is often unseen in the moment, just as a plant grows quietly underground before it breaks through the surface. Your persistence in faith is laying the groundwork for something beautiful that will soon emerge. When you keep going, even when the world tells you to give up, you're demonstrating an unshakable belief that God's promises are true, no matter what the circumstances suggest. God rewards those who persist in faith, who trust in His plan, even when the road is hard, for the vision is yet for an appointed time. It speaks of the end, and it will not lie. Though it tarries, wait for it, because it will surely come. It will not tarry. Habakkuk 2, verse 3. Persistence doesn't mean never feeling tired or discouraged. It means pushing through those moments, knowing that you're not walking this journey alone. God is walking with you, strengthening you, and encouraging you every step of the way. It's the quiet moments of perseverance that produce the greatest victories. Additionally, persistence is about learning to trust in the process. God doesn't always reveal the entire plan to us, and sometimes the waiting can feel unbearable. But each step you take is part of a greater purpose, one that will make sense in God's perfect timing. It's in the waiting, the persistent effort, and the continual trust that you become more attuned to His will for your life. The breakthrough isn't just about the end result. It's about the transformation that happens within you during the journey. God doesn't promise that the path will be easy, but He does promise that He will be with you every step of the way. "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans for welfare and not for evil, to give you a future and a hope." Jeremiah 29, verse 11. These plans are unfolding, even when you can't see them. Your persistence is making way for something far greater than you can imagine. So, as you press on through the challenges, remember that persistence is a sign of faith. It's a reflection of your trust in God's faithfulness and His ability to bring you through the storm. Every step of persistence is a step closer to the breakthrough that God has promised. Keep going, even when it feels like you're not making progress, because your persistence is the key to unlocking the victory waiting for you. The breakthrough you desire is not a matter of ifs, matter of when. And the more you persist, the sooner you'll see the glorious manifestation of all that God has prepared for you. Embrace the journey. As you face your challenges, it's easy to become fixated on the end result, on the breakthrough that you so desperately desire. But it's essential to remember that the journey itself is just as important as the destination. The trials, the setbacks, the waiting. They are all part of the process that shapes you into the person God is calling you to be. Embracing the journey means surrendering control and trusting that every step, no matter how difficult, is leading you towards something greater. Life is not just about reaching the destination. It's about what we become along the way. The trials you're facing now are opportunities for growth and transformation. Each challenge, no matter how painful, is refining your character, expanding your capacity to love, strengthening your faith, and deepening your trust in God's timing and plan. The journey is where you learn to lean on God, to rely on His strength when yours runs out, and to trust that He is working in you, even when the path is unclear. When you embrace the journey, you shift your perspective from a mindset of struggle to one of purpose. Every moment, every obstacle, and every setback has the potential to reveal something new about who God is and who He is shaping you to be. It's through the journey that God molds you, teaches you, and prepares you for the breakthrough that lies ahead. The transformation doesn't happen when you reach the destination. It happens during the process of getting there. The Bible speaks of the importance of embracing the journey with patience and endurance, and let's run with perseverance the race marked out for us, fixing our eyes on Jesus, the pioneer and perfecter of faith. Hebrews 12:1-2. The race isn't just about crossing the finish line. It's about how you run the race, how you navigate the difficulties, and how you maintain your faith and focus along the way. Every step, no matter how hard, is a step closer to becoming the person God has destined you to be. Embracing the journey also involves surrendering your timeline to God. We often want things to happen quickly, to skip over the hard parts and get to the good stuff. But God's timing is always perfect. He knows exactly what you need, and when you need it, trusting in His timing means allowing yourself to fully experience each part of the journey, knowing that each step is necessary for your growth and for the manifestation of your breakthrough. There may be moments when you feel like giving up, when the road seems too long, and when the waiting feels unbearable. But remember, God is not wasting your time. He is preparing you for something far greater than you can comprehend. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you a hope and a future. Jeremiah 29:11. God's plans for you are unfolding right now, in the midst of your journey, and He is equipping you with everything you need for the next chapter of your life. The journey is also where you learn to trust and rely on God's grace. You may not always understand why certain things are happening, but trust that God is with you in every moment. He is walking beside you, carrying you when you're too weak to walk on your own, and guiding you through the valleys and peaks. Even in the moments when you feel lost or uncertain, God's love and faithfulness remain constant. So, embrace the journey with all its ups and downs, knowing that each step is part of God's perfect plan for your life. The breakthrough you're waiting for is important, but the person you become in the process is even more significant. Trust that God is doing a work in you right now, and that when the breakthrough comes, it will be a reflection of the strength, character, and faith you've developed along the way. Your journey is not in vain. It's preparing you for the amazing future that God has in store. Celebrate the small wins. While it's easy to focus on the breakthrough that lies ahead, It's crucial to acknowledge and celebrate the small victories along the way. Every step forward, no matter how seemingly insignificant, is a testament to your perseverance, your faith, and your trust in God. The breakthrough you desire may be a distant goal, but the small wins you experience each day are building momentum toward that victory. In the midst of hardship, it's easy to get discouraged when the end result doesn't come quickly. But God works in the small moments, and often it's through the little victories that we learn the most. Whether it's overcoming a particular fear, taking a step of faith, or seeing progress in an area of your life where you've been praying for change. These small wins matter. The Bible reminds us that God is in the details. Do not despise these small beginnings, for the Lord rejoices to see the work begin. Zechariah 4:20. What may seem like a small victory to you is a big deal in the eyes of God. Every prayer answered, every challenge overcome, every moment of growth is a sign of His faithfulness. By celebrating these small wins, you acknowledge that God is actively at work in your life, even when the bigger breakthrough hasn't yet arrived. Celebrating the small victories also helps keep your perspective in the right place. It's easy to become so fixated on the final result that you miss the blessings you're receiving right now. Even when you feel like your breakthrough is taking too long, there is always something to be thankful for. Each small win is a reminder that God is moving and that He is preparing you for the greater blessings that are to come. Moreover, celebrating these victories helps to build your faith. When you see how far you've come, even in the smallest ways, you are reminded that God has already been faithful in your life. This awareness of His goodness and faithfulness strengthens your confidence in His promises. It gives you the courage to keep moving forward, knowing that if He has helped you in these smaller moments, He will surely help you with the larger challenges ahead. It's also important to share your small wins with others. When you speak about your victories, no matter how small, you inspire those around you. Your testimony becomes a source of encouragement and hope for others who may be going through similar struggles. By celebrating your small wins, you not only acknowledge God's work in your life, but you also become a witness to His faithfulness, drawing others closer to Him. As you continue on your journey toward breakthrough, remember that the small wins are part of the larger victory. They are moments of growth, reflection, and deepening trust. They serve as reminders that your breakthrough is on its way, even if you can't see it yet. So, take time to pause, reflect, and celebrate what God has already done in your life. Celebrate the progress, the lessons, and the blessings, knowing that they are all leading you to the greater breakthrough that is coming. By rejoicing in the small victories, you're strengthening your faith, nurturing gratitude, and positioning yourself to receive even greater blessings. Remember, God is with you every step of the way, and every small win is a step closer to the incredible breakthrough that He has prepared for you. Trust in God's timing. One of the hardest aspects of waiting for a breakthrough is the uncertainty of timing. It's easy to become frustrated when things don't happen as quickly as we would like, especially when we've prayed, worked hard, and been faithful. But trusting in God's timing is essential to receiving the breakthrough He has in store for us. God's timing is never early, never late. It is always perfect. While we may feel like our breakthrough should happen sooner, we must remember that God sees the bigger picture. We see only what's in front of us, but God sees the end from the beginning. He knows what is needed for us to be fully prepared for the blessings and breakthroughs He has planned. Sometimes the waiting period is a time of preparation, a time when God is shaping us, refining our character, and teaching us lessons that will be essential when our breakthrough finally arrives. The Bible is filled with stories of individuals who had to wait for God's perfect timing. Abraham, for instance, waited years for the promise of a son, even though God had promised him that he would become the father of many nations. It took many years of waiting and trusting before that promise was fulfilled. For the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it will speak, and it will not lie. Though it tarries, wait for it, because it will surely come. Habakkuk 2:3. The waiting can feel long and difficult, but it is never wasted. God is never idle during the waiting period. He is preparing you, positioning you, and making sure that when your breakthrough comes, you're ready to handle it. Sometimes, the delay is God's way of ensuring that you don't receive a blessing before you're prepared to steward it well. Just as a farmer waits for the crops to mature before harvest, God is allowing time for His plans to come to fruition in your life. When you trust in God's timing, you acknowledge that He is in control of every detail. It's an act of surrender to the reality that you are not the one who determines the right moment. God does. His plans are always better than ours, and He knows exactly when the breakthrough will be most beneficial for you, for your growth, and for the fulfillment of His purpose in your life. The Bible encourages us to trust in God's timing. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to Him, and He will make your paths straight. Proverbs 3:5-6. Even when we don't understand why we're waiting, or why things are happening the way they are, we are called to trust that God is working everything out for our good. His timing is always perfect, even when it doesn't align with our own. In the waiting, there is growth. In the waiting, there is transformation. God uses this time to build our faith, teach us patience, and deepen our relationship with Him. It's easy to get frustrated in the waiting, but remember that God is working in you, even when it feels like nothing is happening. The waiting time is a time to lean deeper into God. Trust His process and allow Him to work in your heart. So, when you're feeling impatient or discouraged in the waiting, remember that God is faithful. Trust that He is orchestrating everything in His perfect timing. Every step of the way, He is with you, guiding you, and preparing you for the breakthrough that is coming. His timing is always right, and when it happens, you will see that it was worth the wait. Trusting in God's timing is not just about waiting passively. It's about actively surrendering your desires, expectations, and plans to Him. It means acknowledging that He knows what is best for you, even when you don't understand the reasons for the delays or the circumstances that seem to be holding you back. Trusting God's timing requires faith that goes beyond what you can see, feel, or experience in the moment. It's a belief that everything is working together for your good and for the fulfillment of His plan for your life. One of the most important things to realize is that God's timing isn't based on our human understanding of time. We live in a world where instant gratification is often the norm, where everything seems to be available at the touch of a button. But God's ways are higher than our ways, and His understanding of timing is perfect and eternal. He sees the full picture of your life, every detail, every person involved, every event, and every outcome. His plan for you is carefully crafted, and every delay, every challenge, and every moment of waiting is part of that divine blueprint. Consider the story of Joseph in the Bible. God gave him dreams of greatness, But Joseph had to endure years of hardship before those dreams came to fruition. He was sold into slavery, wrongfully imprisoned, and forgotten by those he helped. Yet, at every stage of his life, God was working behind the scenes. In the right moment, God elevated Joseph to a position of power in Egypt, and it was only then that he could see how all his struggles and delays were part of God's perfect timing. You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good to accomplish what is now being done, the saving of many lives. Genesis 50:20. Joseph's story is a powerful reminder that even when things seem to be going wrong, God is using those experiences to position us for something greater. Sometimes we have to go through hardships, delays, and detours to be prepared for the breakthrough that God has planned. The waiting period is often the time when God refines our hearts, strengthens our faith, and prepares us to steward the blessings that will come. In Psalm 27:14, we are encouraged to wait for the Lord. Be strong and take heart, and wait for the Lord. Waiting on God requires strength, but it is a strength that comes from trusting Him and believing that He is faithful to His promises. When we wait on God's timing, we are also cultivating patience, a fruit of the Spirit that grows in us as we learn to trust God's perfect plan, even when we can't see the full picture. Another key aspect of trusting God's timing is learning to let go of control. Often, we want to rush the process because we believe we know best. But God is the author of our lives, and He knows the exact moment when everything will align perfectly. When we try to force things to happen in our own timing, we can end up making decisions that are outside of His will. Trusting God's timing means surrendering our plans to Him and being open to the direction He leads us in, even if it's not the path we envision. Isaiah 55:8-9 reminds us of the vast difference between our understanding and God's. For my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, declares the Lord. As the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts. God's timing is always based on His perfect wisdom, His infinite love, and His deep understanding of our hearts. He knows when we are truly ready to receive what He has planned for us. Trusting in God's timing also involves patience in the process of waiting. It's not enough to simply wait for the breakthrough. We are called to wait expectantly, with faith and anticipation. During this waiting period, we can look for the lessons God is teaching us, the character He is shaping in us, and the opportunities He is providing to grow in our relationship with Him. The waiting period isn't wasted time. It's a time of preparation, growth, and deepening trust. Remember that God's timing is never random or arbitrary. Every delay, every wait, every setback is part of His perfect plan. The Apostle Paul reminds us in Romans 8:28, and we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love Him, who have been called according to His purpose. Even in the waiting, God is working behind the scenes to bring about His good purposes in your life. Finally, while trusting God's timing, remember that He is with you every step of the way. You are never alone in the waiting. God's presence is constant, and His grace is sufficient. The Lord is good to those whose hope is in Him, to the one who seeks Him. Lamentations 3:25. Trusting in God's timing is about surrendering our fears, anxieties, and impatience to Him, knowing that He is faithful and will fulfill His promises in the right moment. So, as you wait for your breakthrough, rest in the knowledge that God is working in your life. Trust that His timing is perfect. His ways are higher than yours, and He will never fail to fulfill His promises when the time is right. Your breakthrough will come, and it will be everything you hoped for, and more, because it will come at the moment when you are truly ready to receive it. Stay focused on the bigger picture. In the midst of challenges and waiting, it can be easy to lose sight of the bigger picture. It's common to become overwhelmed by the current struggles and to focus on the obstacles standing in the way of our breakthrough. However, maintaining a vision of the bigger picture is crucial for staying motivated and persevering through difficult times. God has a plan for your life, and every part of that plan, even the challenging moments, is a piece of the greater story He is writing. When you focus only on the immediate struggles, it's easy to become discouraged and distracted. You may find yourself asking, "Why is this happening to me?" or "When will things get better?" But when you shift your perspective and remember that God is working all things together for your good, the obstacles begin to feel more manageable. The challenges are not the end of the story. They are simply a part of the journey toward your breakthrough. The Apostle Paul encourages us in 2 Corinthians 4:17-18, "For our light and momentary troubles are achieving for us an eternal glory that far outweighs them all. So we fix our eyes not on what is seen, but on what is seen, since what is seen is temporary, but what is unseen is temporary, but what is unseen is eternal." Paul reminds us that the challenges we face in this life are temporary. They are momentary when viewed through the lens of eternity. The breakthrough that God has planned for us is not just a temporary blessing. It is a permanent, eternal reward. The bigger picture is about seeing beyond the present circumstances to what God is doing in your life on a deeper spiritual level. It's about recognizing that the trials you are facing are refining you, strengthening your character, and preparing you for the greater things God has in store. The breakthrough you're praying for is not just for your benefit. It's part of God's larger purpose for your life and the lives of those around you. God's vision for your life is bigger than you can imagine. In Jeremiah 29:11, He declares, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you a hope and a future." Even when the road ahead seems uncertain, you can trust that God's plans are for your good. His purpose is bigger than any single moment or obstacle, and He is using every experience to shape you into the person He has called you to be. The bigger picture also includes recognizing that God's timing and purpose often extend beyond our individual lives. Your breakthrough may have an impact on others, on your family, your community, or even the world. When you stay focused on the bigger picture, you can see that your breakthrough isn't just for you. It's part of a greater plan that will bless and inspire those around you. Your testimony and your faith through difficult times can serve as an encouragement to others who are struggling. As you press on, you become a living example of God's faithfulness, and your breakthrough becomes a testament to His power. Sometimes, focusing on the bigger picture means stepping outside of your immediate concerns and taking time to reflect on what God has already done in your life. Look back at the moments when He has been faithful, when He has answered prayers, and when He has provided for you in ways you never expected. Remembering these moments can help you regain perspective and renew your hope as you continue to wait for your breakthrough. In addition, focusing on the bigger picture means understanding that your breakthrough is often a process, not a single moment of triumph. Every small victory, every step of growth, and every act of faith is part of the journey that leads to the ultimate breakthrough. When you recognize that the journey itself is valuable, you are more likely to stay focused and motivated, even when the road gets tough. As you wait for your breakthrough, remind yourself of the bigger picture. Trust that God is working in and through you, and that everything you experience is part of His plan. When you keep your eyes fixed on the eternal and on His purpose, the challenges of today will seem smaller in comparison to the glory that is to come. Your breakthrough is coming, and when it does, you will see how every step, every struggle, and every moment of waiting was worth it. Embrace the growth in the process. A critical aspect of receiving your breakthrough is learning to embrace the growth that happens during the waiting and the struggle. While we often focus on the end result, the moment when our breakthrough arrives, we must remember that it is the journey and the process that truly shape us. This growth is not always easy, but it is essential for preparing us to handle the blessings and opportunities that come with our breakthrough. The Bible is full of examples of people who experience significant growth during their times of waiting, struggle, and preparation. Consider the story of David, who was anointed king as a young shepherd but spent many years running from Saul before stepping into the throne. Those years were not wasted. They were years of growth, where David developed his leadership skills, his faith, and his dependence on God. When the moment of his breakthrough came, David was ready not only to be king, but to lead with wisdom, humility, and a heart after God's own. James 1:2-4 teaches us the importance of embracing the growth process. Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Let perseverance finish its work, so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything. Trials and challenges are not just inconveniences. They are opportunities for us to grow and mature in our faith. God uses these moments to refine us, to build perseverance, and to help us develop the character necessary to handle the breakthrough He has prepared for us. Without challenges, we would never experience the strength that comes from overcoming adversity. It is through difficulty that we learn patience, humility, and trust in God. Growth happens when we are stretched, when we step out of our comfort zones, and when we are forced to rely on God in ways that we never have before. The process of growth may feel painful at times, but it is always for our benefit. Every challenge and obstacle is refining us, shaping us, and making us more ready for the breakthrough ahead. Romans 5:3-4 emphasizes that our struggles are not pointless. Not only so, but we also glory in our sufferings, because we know that suffering produces perseverance, character, and character, hope. Suffering, in this sense, is not a sign that we are being punished, but a sign that God is building something strong within us. Our faith is being tested and purified. Our character is being refined, and hope is being strengthened. When the breakthrough arrives, we will be able to appreciate the growth and transformation that took place during the waiting period. Embracing growth in the process also means recognizing that this time of preparation is often God's way of equipping us to handle what is coming. If we were to receive our breakthrough prematurely, we might not have the strength, wisdom, or maturity needed to manage it well. Just as a tree must be firmly rooted before it can grow tall, we must be rooted in faith and strong in character before we can fully step into the blessings that God has for us. God's goal is not just to give us a breakthrough, but to make us into the people we need to be to sustain that breakthrough. He wants us to be able to manage the success, handle the responsibility, and stay humble and grounded when the breakthrough arrives. This kind of growth requires us to trust God in the process, to remain faithful even when things don't make sense, and to continue working on ourselves as we wait. It's important to recognize that growth doesn't always happen in the ways we expect. God often works behind the scenes, changing our hearts and minds in ways that we may not immediately understand. While we focus on the external circumstances and the breakthrough we desire, God is focused on the internal work He's doing within us. The breakthrough is not just about the outward change, but about the transformation that happens inside us as well. This inner growth is what will allow us to truly enjoy and steward the breakthrough in a way that glorifies God. As you continue to wait for your breakthrough, remember that growth is happening, even if you can't see it immediately. Keep pressing forward, keep trusting God, and keep embracing the lessons and the growth that each moment brings. One day, you will look back and see how far you have come, how much you have grown, and how God has prepared you for the breakthrough that is on its way. The growth you experience in the waiting is just as important as the breakthrough itself. As we've seen, breakthroughs often come after a season of challenges, waiting, growth, and walking by faith. These moments of difficulty are not signs of God's absence, but are part of the divine process that prepares us for the greatness He has in store. The breakthrough you've been praying for is on its way, but in the meantime, remember that God is working in you and through you in ways that you cannot yet see. Stay focused, trust His timing, and keep walking by faith, because your breakthrough is closer than you think. You are being shaped, refined, and prepared for a future filled with blessings. God is faithful, and His promises are true. Trust Him in the process, and know that when your breakthrough arrives, it will be greater than anything you could have imagined. Thank you for joining us on this journey of faith and encouragement. If you've been inspired or uplifted by this video, don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more powerful content like this. Like this video. If it resonated with you, share it with others who might need a word of hope, and feel free to comment below with your thoughts, prayers, or experiences. Your breakthrough is coming, and we want to celebrate it with you. Stay strong, stay faithful, and keep trusting in God's perfect plan for your life.